For this video, I will be talking about Super Castlevania 4, my favorite entry in Konami's iconic Castlevania series and one of my favorite action platformers for Super Nintendo. Despite the 4 in the title, this game is actually an enhanced retelling of the original Castlevania. The premise of the game is that Dracula, who needs no introduction, comes back to life every 100 years, and every time he comes back to life, he is slain by vampire hunters from the Belmont family. The game takes place in 1691, a century after one of Dracula's defeats. Dracula has come back to life, and the Belmont out to stop him is Simon Belmont, the most iconic Belmont. I will now talk about the gameplay. My favorite thing about the gameplay is easily Simon's whip, due to the wide range of attacks Simon can use with the whip. My favorite thing about the whip is that Simon can crack the whip not only horizontally, but also straight up, straight down, diagonally upward, and diagonally downward. I love this ability because it gives the sense that Simon is athletic and a whip expert, allows the player to deal with high-flying enemies conveniently, and makes fighting enemies more fun and less time-consuming than if only horizontal whipping was possible. I also love the two other features of the whip. The ability to make the whip go limp and wave it around is great for quick, convenient damage and for protection from certain projectiles. I also love being able to swing from rings that the whip can latch onto. It's fun and adds a sense of danger and excitement to the game. The upgradability of the whip is great too, and rewards the player for taking time to destroy candles, the most common source of power-ups in the game. Sub-weapons are varied, are useful in their own ways, and, like the whip upgrades, make destroying candles rewarding. I especially like the holy water and the boomerang. I also find breaking fake walls and getting either food, shot multipliers, or one-ups to be very satisfying. The gameplay is made more fun by the detailed and realistic graphics. The detail and realism both add to the game's spooky atmosphere. Now I will talk about the stages. The stages are well crafted, are largely varied, and fit well in a medieval horror-inspired setting. I love that the game starts off outside Castlevania, Dracula's castle, because it allows for great environments that wouldn't be possible inside Castlevania. Some of the stages use Mode 7 and they use it very well. I especially like the Mode 7 effects used in the Outer Keep, one of the pre-Castlevania stages. I love the room which rotates and which requires Simon to hang from a ring as it rotates, and I love the room which spins like a tube. The swinging chandeliers in Castlevania also look great because of Mode 7. The chandeliers and several other obstacles do a great job of adding a sense of danger or intimidation to the game. Another one of my favorite things about the game is the excellent soundtrack. The songs are well composed and add to the game's spooky atmosphere. The first stage theme of Simon Belmont, is my favorite song in the game. It fits Simon's bravery and hunting expertise, fits the first stage well because it sounds like the beginning of a dangerous adventure, fits the setting of the first stage well, and is just an epic song in general. I also love the forest song, the Limestone Cavern song, a song called Clockwork Mansion which is played in the first half of the Outer Keep, the library song, and the game's remixes of Vampire Killer, Castlevania 1's first stage song, Bloody Tears, Castlevania 2's daytime overworld song, and Beginning, Castlevania 3's first stage song. I will now talk about the boss battles. The boss battles are greatly varied in design, setting, and attack patterns. The bosses themselves all fit well in a medieval horror-inspired story, fit the game's atmosphere, and are imaginative, intimidating, and challenging. The boss music is great too. The pre-Castlevania boss theme has an early adventure feel to it and fits the pre-Castlevania bosses well. The boss song that plays in Castlevania goes well with the dangerousness and spookiness of Castlevania, and goes well with the bosses in Castlevania, who are more intimidating and more challenging than the pre-Castlevania bosses. My favorite bosses include the Orphic Vipers, a two-headed water-dwelling dragon, Coronat, a giant rock golem who makes great use of the Super Nintendo's Mode 7, a boss called the Monster, who is based on Frankenstein's monster, and the Zap Bat, a giant bat made out of gold coins and jewels. I will now talk about the final stage. I love that the final stage starts off with the game's remix of Vampire Killer, because the remix goes well with the sense of having reached the destination after a long and difficult journey, and because it goes well with a medieval horror-inspired journey. The second segment does a good job at intimidation. The player has to deal with several enemies and falling stairs, while being discouraged from standing still because of a spiked wheel that gradually moves upward and instantly kills the player. The remix of Beginning plays in this segment, and it fits the segment well. It adds to the sense of intimidation, goes well with the closeness to Dracula, and has a heroic feel to it. I love the boss battles in the final stage, and I love that if the player gets a game over at one of the boss battles and continues, the player is taken to just before the battle, which is great because having to redo the second segment would be a little much. The final stage has 4 boss battles, one against the spear-wielding Slogra, one against the flying Gaibon, one against the Grim Reaper, and the final battle against Dracula. I love Slogra because of the fireballs that he fires from his spear and because of his dash attack. I love Gaibon because of his fireballs and his more aggressive second form. I love the Grim Reaper just for the idea of fighting the Grim Reaper, and I love the final battle against Dracula, which is my favorite battle in the game. Dracula's battle theme is spooky and depressing, and is a great fit for the battle, because it gives a sense of hopelessness and goes well with Dracula himself. Dracula himself is drawn well and has a great variety of creative attacks. I love that when Dracula's health is low enough, the song changes to theme of Simon Belmont. It goes well with Simon almost winning, it is a great callback to the beginning of the journey, and changes the hopeless atmosphere into a hopeful atmosphere. I will now talk about the ending. The scene where Simon watches as Castlevania crumbles is satisfying, and the retrospective during the credits is entertaining and a great way to show the player how far they went to complete the game. The ending song is great too. The song is triumphant, creates a hopeful and peaceful atmosphere, goes great with Castlevania crumbling, and goes great with the end of a long and difficult medieval horror-inspired story. Overall, Super Castlevania 4 is a great take on the original Castlevania story and is a great Castlevania game in general. The excellent soundtrack, well-drawn enemies and environments, great whip controls, great sub-weapons, and spooky atmosphere make this timeless adventure stand strong among Castlevania games and among platformers in general. That concludes my review of Super Castlevania 4. Take care.